Greg Baird.
No.
Greg is a national lecturer on LGBTQ civil rights, bullying, and hate crimes to colleges, universities, and high schools. Greg is an engaging speaker and storyteller with humorous insight on life. Greg moved to Chicago in 2003 from northern Michigan to follow his legacy, speaking full-time on the importance of inclusion, community, and discovering your legacy. He works often with his friend Judy Shepard from the Matthew Shepard Foundation, speaking about math and his continuing legacy. He was a keynote speaker at the International Lesbian and Gay Police Association Gay Officers Action League Conference in Chicago with actress Sharon Gless from the hit TV show Acting and Lacey. He is thanked for his contribution in Dr. Ruth Westheimer's book on her guide to college life. Greg also appears monthly on 2 radio shows in northern Michigan, educating on LGBTQ equality. He does filmmaking on the side and is currently writing a book about stories from his own life. He works every day to help people find the best in themselves and others. And Greg has recently had a hip replacement, and so he has an excuse to be a little slow. And not that slow. No, give me a chance, I'll just keep talking. Come on, Greg, come on. Yeah.
So I was telling Brad when I got in here earlier that it would have been really interesting if I was still on painkillers. Just saying. So I told my doctor I need to get off this shit about a week ago because I started my lecture tour again. I was off all of February. But I'm walking pain-free now for 2 years. Really. I can't do a high kick yet, but I'm going to work on it. So. I think it's really awesome that we're all here because I think our stories and our personal stories that we share opens minds and it breaks down walls and myths and lies and a lot of things that people don't understand about us. And I think that's the beauty of storytelling, our personal stories, because it creates change, and that's when we don't live in fear anymore because we can talk to one another without our gadgets. We can look face to face and talk about who we are, and that's beautiful. So I spent a lot of time in February, either with crutches or without a cane or with a cane, deciding what I was going to talk about tonight. And I'm really excited to share 2 stories basically out of my childhood, which I think if we look back at our childhood, we can really see our legacies in our future, what's to become of us, or slices of that. I grew up in a small town, not northern Michigan, but in the Thumb area of Michigan. If you know anybody from Michigan, they hold up the hand. It looks like a miss. I'm not doing it on stage tonight, but they hold up the hand and they say, "What area are you from?" Well, I had the blessing of living in a small town, and my town was called the Gateway to the Thumb.
Traverse City.
It was a small town. My father owned a hardware store. He worked very hard. It was passed down from my grandparents. My mother was a stay-at-home mom and helped her 2 boys. Now, there was just 2 sons. My parents could not conceive children on their own, so my brother and I are both adopted. We're both adopted from different families. He's 2 years older. And my parents found out later in life that they hit the gay lotto adoption by having 2 gay sons. I often mention that when I lecture, and I'll have some people that are like nursing students or, you know, psychology or sociology, and they're writing, and when I say that, they stop, they go, like they don't, they like, what happened? You know, like, so my parents didn't think it was the biggest blessing, but it probably saved my relationship later on with my father and also my brother who lives in Florida. My brother and I were very creative as kids, and we were the products of the 60s and 70s TV generation. And for those of you that remember that era, we grew up with like the Addams Family, Mr. Ed, the Brady Bunch, the Partridge Family, all those things. And we emulated a lot of those characters that we saw on TV. With that said, My favorite place to live when I was younger was 620 Westwood Drive. It was just out of my hometown, on the outskirts. We live in a ranch-style house, typical of the 70s. And we had the woods next door, and behind our house, we had this huge field with some hills in the back. And you know, we were the generation, you didn't play video games, wouldn't even know what video games was. We had like 3 channels on the TV. And we were to stay outside, so I was either building forts or nature trails and charging the neighborhood kids to walk my trail at a nickel apiece. I was like a young Walt Disney. And the kids would try to find different things to do in playing. So we had these hills in the back, and it was great time because if one of the kids' parents bought a new washer or dryer or a refrigerator, we got the box. Yeah. We got the freaking box on the hill. And what we would do is we would put wings on the box and make it look like a space shuttle or something, and we would cram all these kids into it. It looked like a spaceship, and then we would all go, oh, we're crashing on a planet, we're going to die! And then some of the big kids would pick up the end of the box, throw it down, and it'd go ass over car. And you know, the younger kids, and then somebody would go home crying because one of the big staples that are in there. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. And you have to understand that, and we take the box back up, and we'd fix it up again, and someone had some masking tape. So that was our game plan. Well, my brother is very quiet. I was more the outgoing guy. Hello. And so we would always try to outdo one another. So one day my brother said to me, he goes, I'm going to be building something down in the basement that is unbelievable. And I was like, what is that? He goes, if you come downstairs anytime before it's finished, I'm going to beat you up. My brother was a little bit of a bully. I was kind of a chubby kid growing up. He was thinner, but he could move a little bit faster. So I thought, I'm not going to tick him off. I'm going to see what he's going to do. So I waited, and I would go to the basement door every once in a while, look down, and he would hear me, and he goes, get out of here! Close the door, So finally, one day my brother said, I am coming out with something that I made that is just going to blow everybody in the neighborhood away. What is going on? So I was standing off of the hill, and I saw my brother come out the back of our house, and he was walking, he was carrying something. And he got closer, and I could not believe it, but he had the exact replica of the Flying Nun's hat from the Flying Nun at Sally Field wore. I couldn't believe he had a hat, and if you don't know anything about the show, it was really screwed up because she was a do-gooder, God bless her, and also she fought crime. My brother had the hat, and he goes, I am going to fly off the top of this hill.
Oh my God.
The kids were all like, they couldn't believe it. I kind of knew he wasn't going to fly, and I was waiting for what was going to happen after. So he got up, minus, he didn't have the garment, he just had the hat. So here's my brother at about 10 years old, I was about 8, and he's standing at the top of the hill, does one of these numbers, and he goes, here it goes. And the kids were just like, this is unbelievable. And he jumped off. He fell and rolled down the hill, the hat blew off, and he ended up crashing on top of the hat and smashed the whole thing. I got down to make sure he was okay. I still thought it was kind of cool. It was very dramatic. And he said to me, if you ever tell anybody this story, I will kill you. So anyway, I thought, I need to up the ante on this thing. I mean, he had all the kids out here. They're all going to go home and talk about this. I need to find my own personal thing. So, this was during the summer. So about a month later, my mother, who loved piano music, she loved Nat King Cole, Cole Porter, she loved Liberace. My mother decides to buy an upright piano and put it in the living room. So, fine. But what wasn't fine is that she required my brother and I to take piano lessons from this elderly lady named Mrs. Malthus at the bottom of the Methodist Church. Mrs. Malthus was very mean because if we ended up laying our hands on those keys, she would whack us with a ruler. Couldn't do that now. but she would whack us with the rulers, and we had to play all these stupid little songs and stuff, and I wanted to play the more popular things, like Debbie Boone's You Light Up My Life. Well, anyway, we were sitting at dinner not too long after that, and my mother, as encouragement at the dining room table, said, I have a surprise for this whole family. Oh my God, this is great. What is it? She goes, I have got tickets for all of us to go see Liberace. Now, mind you, this is the first concert I ever been to. My mother passed away this past November and took to her grave that she blamed Liberace for my brother and I being gay. True story. So the time came, we were to go see Liberace in Port Huron at the McMorrin Place Auditorium. And we were sitting there, and they had him on an ice rink, you know, covered up, make it look like an auditorium. We were sitting in the round, and he came out very flamboyant with the furs and everything, and I had a really active imagination. And I'm watching him, and I thought, well, this is all right. And, you know, he's playing the piano, and my father's kind of rolling his eyes, you know, Mr. Hardware Man. And all of a sudden, the coolest frickin' thing happened. The lights went off in the auditorium, and Liberace came out in a complete lit up suit coat. Lights all over the damn thing, and he came out, and my eyes got like Roger Rabbit. And I'm watching him, and he's playing the piano, and the lights are on. This is the coolest thing ever. I need a coat like Liberace. So on the way home, you know, we had the window cracked in the back, and I'm just gazing off. I need a coat just like Liberace in the world. How is that going to happen? I got it. My parents were going to have a game night in their house in a week, a bridge party, where they all played cards in the living room. About 30 people would be there drinking, smoking, and playing cards. There's my audience. So, 2 days later when we got home, my mother went to the store, the grocery store, and left me and my brother at home. I went into my father's closet and got his suit coat. And because he owned a hardware store, we had every tool and everything that you needed. I went in the basement and I poked holes through that. I got into Christmas decorations and I strung Christmas tree lights through the whole damn house. I thought, I got the audience, I got the prop, and I got me, and I'm ready to go. I worked on that. I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. I went up to the garage to make sure I had a long enough extension cord to reach from the hallway into the living room. So the time came, my mom, typical mom, she goes, okay boys, I want you to go in and watch TV. The adults are in the living room. Here's your Coke, chips, and dip. We always had chips and dip and Coke, and we were in there. And my brother goes, what are you up to? I said, I'm not up to anything. So, sitting in the TV room, which used to be the old breezeway, so there was like a glass sliding door. And I waited for about a half hour for my audience to get a little warmed up, have Benjamin Hedges, a little scotch and soda, for the men to unwind, you know, have a few Old Milwaukee or something. So I thought, okay, this is my time. So I ran into my room, I put the coat on, I got the extension cord in the hallway, plugged it into the coat, boom! And I walked around the corner into the living room, and like the gay boy that I was, I go, ta-da! I literally stopped time. My father leaned over to my mother and said, you're the one who wanted to go see Liberace. My mother looked over at my father and said, well, at least he didn't come out with a nun's hat. There was a few rounds of applause, but it's something that I'll never forget. And as we go through our life, we try on many hats. And sometimes we stumble, sometimes we change them, sometimes it's good, but we find what fits us best. And as my coat, we have a light that illuminates from all of us. And it shows that warmth to everybody that we come in contact with. And the thing that we need to remember the most is that if we are not sharing our stories and our history, no one is going to do that for us.
Yeah.
Thank you.